Have you ever wondered why two people with the exact same goals can have radically different responses to failure? Or why some individuals just seem to generate their own momentum, while others, constantly drain the energy out of the room? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the stark, defining differences between true ambition and entitlement, and we're doing it using a really fascinating analytical framework called the Sovereignty Protocol.
The text actually describes this framework as a surgical strike. It's a relentless examination that essentially forces us to look right in the mirror at the true source of our drive. We aren't talking about vague self-help platitudes here. This is a rigorous diagnostic tool designed to uncover whether you're operating as a creator or merely a consumer in your own life. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll define ambition versus entitlement. Next, we'll look at the dopaminergic divide to see how our brains process failure. Then we'll unmask hidden entitlement before finally equipping you with the Sovereignty Protocol itself. Let's get to it.
All right, diving right into Section 1, ambition versus entitlement.
According to the protocol, ambition operates with an intense internal locus of control. Basically, they firmly believe they steer their own ship. Think of ambition as this highly disciplined, self-contained engine of production. When an ambitious person sees a gap in the market or maybe a lack in their own skills, they absolutely do not look around for a savior. Instead, they immediately ask, okay, what skills must I stack? What hours do I need to log? What friction do I have to swallow to bridge this gap myself? They assume total, absolute responsibility for the payload. On the flip side, entitlement operates with an aggressive external locus of control. The text describes it as a fragile, almost parasitic mindset of passive consumption. Entitled individuals look at what they want and immediately ask, well, why isn't the environment delivering this to me? Right? They literally expect their partners, their team, or just society at large to configure reality just to keep them validated. They basically view the outside world as administrative staff hired exclusively to serve their ego. Picture this as an energy loop. Ambition? That's a generator. It starts with an internal fire, pushes out aggressive execution, and generates asymmetric value for the whole ecosystem. It's a net exporter of value. Entitlement, on the other hand, is basically a vacuum. It starts with an internal void, places these heavy demands on the network, and creates systemic drag. It's a net importer, just siphoning energy from everyone around it.
Moving on to Section 2, the dopaminergic divide.
Okay, so here's where it gets really fascinating. How do these mindsets handle failure? Well, ambitious individuals analyze setbacks simply as feedback loops. Because their identity is completely tethered to their effort and execution, dropping a heavy lift or losing capital on a business play doesn't destroy them. Their baseline identity doesn't shatter. They look at failure purely as optimization data so they can recalibrate their protocols. Their pride actually comes from their capacity to endure the fire.
But entitlement? Oh man, it shatters. Because an entitled person's identity is tethered entirely to outcomes and external expectations. A setback isn't data, it's a violent system shock. When they don't get the applause or the exact return they feel they deserve, they spiral immediately into bitterness, outrage, and blame. Why does this happen? Because their self-worth is entirely artificial. It's built on a fragile house of cards, assuming the universe just inherently owes them success.
Which brings us to Section 3. Unmasking hidden entitlement. In today's high-performance and wellness cultures, you rarely see entitlement just walking around demanding a crown. It's much sneakier than that. It wears a mask. It disguises passive entitlement using these really positive-sounding self-actualization phrases, like knowing my worth or demanding high standards. But underneath all that jargon, it's the exact same external demand.
So how do we spot it? You can run a side-by-side operational audit, and it's a stark contrast. While the truly ambitious profile is laser-focused on upgrading their own baseline capabilities, the disguised entitled profile is busy auditing and criticizing the shortcomings of everyone else around them. Look at how they react to friction. This is literally the litmus test. It separates those who take absolute responsibility from those who point fingers. When friction hits, the ambitious profile leans straight into the discomfort. They see the obstacle as the exact vector for their growth. But the entitled profile? They immediately complain about the system, blaming market anomalies, bad luck, or team incompetence just to protect their own ego. And notice the stark difference in how these profiles treat their networks. True ambition seeks high-leverage collaborations where they actively try to out-provide their peers. They bring asymmetric value to the table. The entitled profile, however, seeks relationships that act as a safety net, people they can siphon energy from,
basically to cushion themselves from the natural consequences of their own stagnation.
All right, final part. Section 4, the sovereignty protocol. This is the prescriptive cure. Here are 3 exact steps to ensure your ambition remains an unadulterated, unkillable engine of self-actualization. Let's break down how you can apply these to your daily operations right now.
Step 1 is running the zeroed ode calibration. Every single morning, before you do anything else, you have to accept a cold yet incredibly liberating law of physics. The universe owes you absolutely nothing. The market doesn't care how hard you worked yesterday. Your network doesn't owe you compliance. The slate resets to 0 every single day. The exact moment you accept that you have 0 structural right to a positive outcome, your entitlement dies on the spot and your raw predatory hunger returns. Step 2 is shifting from demand to leverage. The next time you feel a spike of irritation because a partner, an employee, or just some circumstance isn't satisfying your desires, stop the emotional drain instantly. Do not demand that they change to keep you happy. That's the vacuum talking. Instead, look at the data and ask yourself, how can I adjust my own leverage, my boundaries, or my systems so that my execution is completely decoupled from their performance? And step 3, the final crucible, outwork your expectations. If you expect a massive 10-year asymmetric payout from your business or your physical conditioning, you absolutely cannot just sit back and wait for it. Your input metrics have to vastly outpace your desired output metrics. You've got to be willing to log a level of boring, unglamorous execution that would make the average person quit in a week. When your work ethic becomes so undeniably massive that it dwarfs your goals, you cease to be a passive beggar waiting for luck. You become a sovereign force manufacturing your own reality. So I'm going to leave you with one final, ultimate diagnostic question to audit your own daily operations. Look at your habits, look at your reactions to failure, and look closely at your relationships. Are you generating value, or are you extracting it? Are you a sovereign creator or a demanding consumer? The choice and the work required to back it up is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep building, and we'll see you next time.